Very good afternoon to you, everybody. Welcome along to the Matchday Live preview in association with Standard Chartered, ahead of Liverpool's final home game of this 2022-23 season against Aston Villa. Phil Thompson and Charlie Adam are alongside me. Lots to talk about over the course of the next 10 minutes or so. We will talk about the four players saying their Anfield farewells a little later on this afternoon. We'll talk about Liverpool's home form, another excellent season here at Anfield, the threat that Aston Villa might pose a little later on, and the boys will pick their 11s for this match. But Charlie Adam, not going to be a dry eye in the house come 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah, and rightly so. These four lads, you know, obviously Bobby's getting most of the plaudits, which is rightly so. You know, he's been a phenomenal servant to this football club, but the other lads have contributed in different ways, and you know, Naby Keita, Chamberlain and James Milner, I think, has been a massive part of the dressing room in terms of keeping it together. You know, that British type player, and wherever he goes will be a huge asset to their dressing room.
I asked you a little bit before we came on air about if you remembered your final Anfield game. I'm going to put you out your misery. May the 7th, 1983. The opponents, Aston Villa.
Was it?
Yeah, reigning European champions at the time, Aston Villa, but it was you who went on to win the league title. But I guess maybe at the time you wouldn't have thought it was.
What score was it?
1-1.
1-1. There you go.
At the time, you maybe wouldn't have thought that would have been your last game at Anfield, so wouldn't have had this sort of day that Bobby and James and Naby and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain are going to have.
Yeah, they would. Back in the day, you just sort of, your careers just waned a little bit, and you found yourself in and out of the side, and then gradually you moved on, and you were always looking for that next player of a similar ilk. So of course it was Lotto's turn. So it was, Lotto had already been brought in. He played left back, he played centre midfield, but they always had an idea, particularly Joe Fagan, that was who was going to play alongside Alan Hansen. As with me, with Emlyn Hughes, and then me and Alan Hansen, it was then Hansen and Lawrenson. So you knew where you were, and it was always harder because I was the older one, and it's not very nice. But there wasn't any one game when I thought, oh, that was my last game. That's why I was struggling to remember it. But this will be an incredible farewell for these lads. They all deserve it in different ways, as Charlie just said. But for Bobby, you ask me about who's been my favourite player at this football club, and everybody will go, oh, it's Virgil. No, it's been Bobby Firmino. Ever since he was here, it's just how he plays the game and what he does for the team, for the club. I will miss that smile as much as his ability.
Well, I think about where Liverpool are at the moment. I think he's probably been the biggest miss this season. I think he gives us a lot off the ball in terms of that energy and dropping in and that false number 9 position. And I think they've missed him this season in terms of the early part of the season. But, you know, I think, like, the goals he scored, like Phil said, the smile, the energy, the enjoyment that he brings to these supporters, like I said, I don't think there will be a dry eye in the house, because it's a special occasion, and it's not until we leave this football club you realise how big it is. You know when you're here and there's a lot going on. But even I was only here a year, and I loved that year, and it's a special place. I get a buzz coming back now, just even walking in the door. I was only here a year, I played 30-40 games, but you've been part of this football club, and that's the one thing. And I always tell people, I'm the lucky one. We were the lucky players that managed to get to play on that jersey just once. Phil done it a lot more than me, but you appreciate it when you come to the right football club, the people, the supporters. It's it's a special place to play.
And there is Mr. Reliable, Millie. He's been absolutely fantastic. You see him, still what he commands, that respect off the players, off me as an ex-player, of what he's brought. We were talking about characters in the dressing room and how you need good ones, and that's what I think more and more teams are looking for. Millie was exceptional. Naby has brought his bit to it. The Ox has done his bit, only for that injury. I think it was against Roma here.
Yeah.
What a season he had. And so they all in their own right, but it'll be an emotional farewell for Bobby, and for the right reasons of what he's done for the club. And I'm with you, Charlie. What we have missed, because with Darwin and with Cody, they don't understand the press, and that they could have learned from Bobby a bit more if he'd played a lot more.
Yeah.
The one thing you would say about this season is that the home form has been massive. 66% of Liverpool's Premier League points have come here at Anfield. And if you look since Jurgen's come in, he's lost only 16 of 165 domestic games here at Anfield over 90 minutes. Without the Anfield factor this season, who knows where Liverpool might have been.
Absolutely, but that's why it's a fortress. It's a special place. The cop, the crowd, the people. That's what you need for your home support. You need it to be a fortress. No matter who you play, you respect your opponent. But remember, you're in our house. This is our ground. We're the best team that that are in the land, and it's just that away form has been difficult so parts for the season, and they're still within a shout. It's 2 games to go. They've still got a chance, hoping that there's a slip up, but you've got to do your own job. But this crowd will always drive you on through the good times and the bad times.
That's been the baffling thing, hasn't it? We've been so good here. Normally, if you have a bad season, most of it's been quite equal. Your home form's not been great, your away form's not been great, but ours has been so strong here. But then when we leave here, it's just not happened on the road, particularly against those lesser teams. We've had a really difficult time, and I do think at times we've gone away from home, and yes, I would have to say the attitude's not been right, and we've not been up for it, because the demands of what the people here have and want from the players makes them play that bit better.
The point about today is an interesting one as well, which Jurgen made yesterday. Liverpool have won their last 6 final day home games under Klopp, but yes, it's a celebration, but get your minds on the job as well. Probably finish it properly for those 4 boys.
And it is, you want to leave the home form, you want to leave them throughout the summer of remembering that last game and how good it was, and we've had this great run. So they are under pressure, the boys, to deliver in these last 2 games. We want to make it 9 games unbeaten and go for it. So that's the thing. Don't let yourselves down, boys. Go out there, entertain, play, do the high press. It's going to be a magnificent day, but let's make sure we win.
Because the other point is, Aston Villa aren't here for a party.
Now they've got a job to do. They want to try and get into this European position. They've got aspirations to do that. I think Unai Emery's come in and done a good job in terms of regrouping what the players were. They were low when obviously Stephen left the football club, and he's come in and he's done a good enough job. And it'll be a difficult match. But I always say, when you're at Liverpool, you're at home, you worry about yourself. If Liverpool turn up, there's no doubt this game that they can win the game, no problem. So it's a way to go out, like you say to Phil. If there is any big twists or turns in the last 2 games, make sure you're in a position to capitalise, and you've not drawn here today and then you go to Southampton at the weekend and draw, and you don't give yourself a chance, you miss out by a point. But no, make sure you're on the job, and I believe so. I think they will too, because this crowd will demand it, because it will give them the feel-good factor for next season. Some new players coming in, players leaving, and you want to walk away knowing that the next season looks bright. It
was interesting that Charlie touched on Unai Emery there, and Jurgen said yesterday, England's an island, and sometimes we forget what happens outside of these shores, and that he has proved a point since he's returned to the Premier League, if he had to, because his work in Spain and in France has been wonderful. But back in the Premier League, it didn't end so well at Arsenal, but it's going really well at Villa.
And it didn't sort of end very well at Arsenal. That's why you lose your job. It's not going right. But it was a massive job for them. They're trying to sort of resurrect them, and so they wanted a quick fix. But it's not like that. He's a good manager. He's proven it in Spanish football. And you go, this guy, and he was ridiculed, the poor lad, because what would we be like if we were trying to pick up a language?
Speaks 5 languages, the guy.
Absolutely. Yeah. So give him the respect that he deserves. And him coming to Villa, and yes, Stephen tried with them. It didn't exactly work. He's come in, changed a few things, but he's given them that confidence back. Players who you looked at and thought, they're probably going to be on the way, they're not doing enough. He's instilled this confidence individually, in units, and they've been absolutely fantastic. This sort of, since he's been there, they've scored in every single game that he's been involved in at Aston Villa.
Team news, nice and simple. Keep it as it is.
Exactly, and that's the way I think it will be today. Same team, same subs. Let's go.
And it was difficult for 10 or 15 minutes against Leicester, but this team, you knew what it was going to be against Leicester, and the boys went out and they done perfect. That is our teams. I've said the same thing. Why do you want to change it? Because it's winning, it's doing extremely well. Unless there's a niggle in anybody, keep the same team.
The other point would be, sometimes as a coach, is it difficult to not sort of second guess you think and think, oh, I might actually tweak it today. Just keep churning them out. If they're winning, they're not playing 2 games a week. I mean, they played on Monday, but they're not playing Champions League matches, so it's a bit easier.
There's always a chance of that with 10 or 15 games to go. But when you get down to the last half a dozen games, it's no good saying, oh, maybe he's tired, maybe this. If they're confident, you're on a good run. It's no good changing it.
Like
so what you do, you just go same again. and that gives the players in there a lift and a boost.
I don't think Jurgen's one for sentimental. I think he'll play the right team to win the match, and if Bobby's fit, which he wasn't the other night, if he's fit and available, he'll have a place on the bench. I don't think he'll come straight back in the starting team. It's there's no sentimental. It's about 3 points. It's about next season, building for that, and at the end, if you can get an opportunity to get the players on that are going to leave, then great. But if not, then you know you'll keep that team, and hopefully they can win the match.
Now, we are seeing a few things and a few men in particular for the final time at Anfield this afternoon, but we're also seeing something for the first time too, because Liverpool will wear their new home kit for next season today. It is inspired by the 70s, so who better to speak to than a man who was kicking around in the 70s? Only just, it must be said, only just.
Yeah, I was only a young lad, 16, 15.
What do you think of the new kit?
I think it's absolutely wonderful. I got sent a nice big box, huge box. I thought, oh, I've got trainers, I've got loads of kit, I've got training kit and everything. There was a shirt in it. Well, see, the box was about that big, and and a scarf as well. But it was wonderful. You know, when you look and it said inspired by the 1973-74 season, and it is. The red is wonderful. Because as we've seen that red change a little bit, we had a little bit of an orangey, like a Roma colour in the kit. So it's nice that you see the round red colour.
I love that white colour.
I would have loved to have had the big round badge going back to the 60s with my heroes. But this is just wonderful. It's plain. It's so hard to change shirts when you're doing things. But we like tradition at our football club, so they don't tamper with it too much, and I think they've got it absolutely spot on. You've got the standard charter there, you've got the badge, you've got the Nike. It absolutely works all round.
Talking of tradition, the new tradition on the social show is the quiz at the end of these shows. Honestly, I would walk off because I've seen the questions. I don't know who's written them, but they're really hard today. The theme is that the four boys who are departing, so it's based on their Liverpool career. So I think it's a minute on the clock. Let's get ourselves underway. Just shout out when you know the answer, basically. Time starts now. We start with Roberto Firmino, who scored the winner against Flamengo in the 2019 Club World Cup final. He scored the winner in the semi-final as well. Who were Liverpool playing?
Monterrey.
Oh, well done. Good start. Naby Keita scored Liverpool's fastest ever Premier League goal against Huddersfield. How many seconds did it take him?
30 seconds.
28 seconds.
15 seconds. James Milner's played for 5 Premier League clubs: Leeds, Villa, Man City, Liverpool, and who else?
Newcastle.
Lovely. Against which side has Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain scored the most goals for Liverpool?
Southampton.
Manchester City.
You're not going to get this. It's Genk. Which former Red did Roberto Firmino play alongside for Hoffenheim in 2011-12? Dutchman.
Not a clue. Oh, Dutchman.
Ryan Babel. How many Champions League goals has Naby Keita scored for Liverpool?
6.
3.
2. Which team did James Milner make his Liverpool debut against? One of your former clubs.
Stoke.
Correct. Time's up. Don't know who won that. I think it was you, Tomo. You'll take the. Yeah,
I thought it was a joint venture.
It was 2-1, which over a minute is pretty poor. But no, the questions were very, very difficult indeed. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for the moment. Let's just tell you about what's coming up on LFC TV and Go over the course of the rest of the day. Highlights from 7 o'clock tonight on LFC TV Go, and then the full game will be available on Go as well from midnight inside Anfield on YouTube and Facebook some point tomorrow. As for this afternoon then, Matchday Live gets underway at 1:55, featuring interviews with Jurgen Klopp and Andy Robertson. You can hear the full game from 3 o'clock this afternoon, and then the Matchday reaction, which will hopefully feature the players' lap of appreciation from 5 o'clock. Tomo, Charlie, thank you very much indeed for the moment. We'll see you just before 2 o'clock. We're back a bit later on. Bye for now.